So, morning folks, and we've received a new package in the post today from JTech. This basically has come from Nottingham, I think they're based. JTech make tail tidies, I think, and various other products for motorcycles. I've been looking to put a tail tidy on the MT10SP for a while. I didn't think the original one that came with the bike from new was that bad of a tail tidy. Didn't stick out too far, but I just wanted to tidy the back of the bike up a little bit and expose that rear wheel a little bit more. And I've seen a lot of these being put on other MT10s. I purchased this from eBay. I think it was £25 plus VAT, which is a lot cheaper than other ones which retail out at about 100, just over £100. I've seen them for. So let's have a look in the box and see what it is. So it comes in some nice packaging, and in the middle of all this bubble wrap. So we've got a bracket, which is the tail tidy, and this actually fits onto the original bracket from the motorcycle underneath the seat. So we'll have to dismantle that from the other tail tidy that's on there. It is steel, like I say, so it's not aluminium, but obviously it's hard wearing and doesn't bend, and hopefully the powder coating is going to last a long time. It comes with a cable. I presume this is for the number plate light. What else have we got in here? I think this is the number plate light that we've been sent. So you've got some nuts and bolts, some spacers, some electrical contacts. One thing that's nice is they've even sent you a reflector to stick onto the side of your, or the bottom or the top of your number plate, because MOT wise you have to have one of these on the back, guys, and the original tail tidy will take off the original OEM one that's on there. So we've got some cable ties in there, we've got some shrink wrap for the wiring, and then we've got this from a company called Cosso. And basically this is the LED tail light that's going to be going on to the tail tidy. So with all that unpacked, what we'll do now is we'll head to the bike, we'll take the original tail tidy off and bring it to the table, because we need to strip some parts, indicators and bits and pieces off the old one to put on the new one. So this is the old tail tidy that comes with the bike from new. And also I've got a rack, a Yamaha rack on top there that's staying, but as you can see just here, so that bracket there will stay on the bike, and then the other tail tidy will fit onto that, and then we're going to get rid of this sled on the back. Basically we'll keep these indicators, and basically we'll put these on the new tail tidy as well. And then that should all move it forward a bit. So what I've done is I've actually taken the rack off, the Yamaha rack off the back of the bike now, because I need to access this area to get to the 4 bolts that hold the tail tidy on. So basically the rack was just 4 bolts just underneath there, and basically I've just ripped that off, and we'll get to dismantling some of this now so I can get into, I don't know if you can see, there's 1 bolt there, there's one just tucked under this bracket, so it'd be easier if that bracket was out the way, and then I can just get my socket set on it. So I'm just going to have to strip this end down a little bit to be able to access everything I need to. So first we're going to strip these side bolts out so that we can access it a little bit more. So we'll take these all the way out, and there's 2 of these on both sides. Okay, so what I've done next is I've taken the 2 side screws out here and here, taken these 2 screws out, and there's an Allen key just here, and then this whole back end piece that people always tend to kick off these flaps, just because they're mounted with these silly little plastic press studs on the back. So I'm going to change those to proper nuts and bolts so you can't kick them off when you're lifting your leg over. I don't have a problem because I have the rack on and it kind of covers all of that. But if I ever do take the rack off, then I'll be conscious of kicking these fins off. I don't know why they didn't just make it all a one moulded piece. A bit crazy, really. That's the only downside with the MT10 that a lot of people say, is just they keep kicking these flaps off. So anyway, that's removed. So on to the next section. Okay, so I need to remove this seat bracket just here so that I can access these 4 bolts easy enough. So I'm just going to pull those side panels back and just undo these 8 or 10 mil, I think they're 8 mil bolts, and take that off so I can get access to it. Okay, and I can move the bracket just here that I've taken off, which is the seat lock, and now I can access the 1, 2, and then just under this wiring here there's another 2, and that will drop the actual original tail tidy off. Then I can disconnect it. So what I'm doing now is just undoing the connectors to the indicators and also the rear number plate light, and there we go. So these things here that you see, these are the resistors for the indicators. So basically there's 3 connections that you need to undo, 2 indicators and also the tail number plate light there, and then those will go through this hole just here when I drop the old tail tidy off. Okay, so I've dropped the 4 bolts out just here, and then as you can see the tail tidy is just passing through this hole and get these cables and connectors through. There we go. So tail tidy off the bike, and this bracket here is going to go onto the new tail tidy that we've got on the kitchen table. So let's take this inside, we'll get all this stripped down, swap the indicators, get it put back on this bracket, and then we can bolt it all back together. Okay, so we've got the old tail tidy off. So as you can see on the bracket that we actually reuse, you've got the key flap as you see here. So all that, why I like this one is because all that's left on, and basically we're just cutting off from here, not cutting off but undoing the bolts, and then the new one bolts here. So you're getting rid of all of this on the back and fitting the new one on. So what we need to do is we need to remove these 4 bolts just here to take that off, and then start taking the indicators out. So we'll get to that just now. Okay, also once I've undone the 4 bolts, I'm just going to take these 4 screws out here and take this bracket out, so it makes it easier for me to get access to the wires and start to disconnect those, and also the indicators. So I'm not sure how rusted in these are. No, they'll come out easy enough. Okay, so now that bracket can come out. And as you can see now, all the wiring's loose. There's your little flap. I'll clean that up before I put it back on. I can get that bracket off and give it a clean also before it goes back on. Okay, so I've got my 2 brackets all clean. Now we're going to see how we can get these indicators off. So let me just relocate the camera so you can see. Okay, so how to get the indicators off. So basically there's 2, I don't know if you can see just there, probably not, I've got another light in here. So there's 2 little plates that come off, and these are just plastic plates. I've just used a screwdriver and pushed it in between the slot and pulled a little bit, and they both come out okay. And basically once you get those out, you can see them better now on the wire. So I'll just pull those down the cable a little bit, and then what's meant to happen now is that these indicators actually, I need to just pull on them to get them out. There we go, there's one. Okay, so you can see they're quite a tight fit, and that should all feed through there now. So we can get that one out. So I needed to get it between my legs just to grab hold of it a little bit, and then we can take that cable and wire out also. Okay, so we'll put that away. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so we've got our indicators out, nice and clean. Everything's clean, bracket's clean, everything's clean. So we've got our bracket just here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the indicators first, and then I'm going to fit the number plate light. So you don't get any instructions, is what I've noticed with this setup and kit. The only thing that you do get is that you get these two stainless steel spacers. It says if you're using the standard indicators, fit these to them, then fit the indicators to the new tail tidy. Twist and remove inserts to allow fitment of standard indicators. Doesn't really give me, would have been nice to have some drawings to understand exactly how these are going to fit. So twist and remove inserts. So if you look on here, you'll see that there's some inserts just here. So we need to basically twist and remove. Nothing's easy, is it? And there's a couple of burrs on the inside of there. I hope that's not going to damage the indicators, but anyway, we'll see. Get these out. Right, so it says we need to use the spacers. So we're going to get these little spacers. We're going to put one of these, I presume, on each of the little indicators. So I'm presuming that those need to go on there somehow. Okay, so they fit just in between there, but trying to get them over that is what I call a real pain in the ass. So next one. Okay, that's the second one on. Up to now, that is the hardest thing to fit. Second, getting the indicators out, and that's about it really on these little lugs, trying to twist these off. Not the easiest, and there was a lot of swearing in that little session there that I didn't show you, but just trying to get those spacers on. One suggestion to the company that makes this is do these in black. I know you're probably going to scratch them when you put them on there, but it would just match up with the rest of everything. Let's see how it looks when we go on there. Okay. So next on the agenda is actually fitting these indicators. So not sure if there's a left or a right hand one now. I didn't note, but they look pretty generic to me. So I take it we just basically feed these through like so, and then the indicators should fit in a similar fashion to what they did before. Okay, so if you are going to buy one of these products, it might be easier to buy aftermarket indicators, because that was the biggest struggle I've had to try and push these rubbers through this hole. Unbelievable. I had to use a knife in the end and force it through, and just make sure you're pushing away from you, otherwise you slip and you stab yourself. So not the best ideas, or maybe they could have given a little bit more tolerance, because those are really tight in there. Anyway, that's one side in, and looks like they are sided, because where the plate goes on just here, so that's how they look, and they've got kind of a downswept corner on just here. So yeah, so that's one indicator on. Let's get this little bracket put in the back. Hopefully that'll go in a little bit easier. Okay, so that's the other side in. The other side was even worse because I couldn't push against the other side because the other indicator was on there. So yeah, what an absolute strain to try and get those rubbers through there. I understand why they put the spacers on, so that they're not floppy, because the metal thickness is thinner on this one than the other one. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad those are on. You know, it's 25 quid, guys. It's not a 100 quid product, and for the swearing and cussing that I've just done, yeah, you've got to be careful. One, not to slip and scratch the metal and ruin the product that you just bought, but two, not to slip and hurt yourself. So just be really, really careful when you do that if you are fitting one of these. So let's mount the little LED light. Looks okay, like so, and then these holes should line up. There you go. Fasten these up at the back. So I'm guessing that the heat shrink is for that cable just there. So you will need a hairdryer to shrink the heatsink, or a little blowtorch at some point. Okay, so that's the heat shrink on the top half, and where these bullet connectors go through, I can probably get that through inside under the seat, and I'll just use some electrical tape around the connections. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually fit this onto here. So you've got to use your head a little bit with this kit, because like I say, it doesn't come with any instructions. But it seems to be going together easy enough. Okay, so I've tightened all of the bracket up now, so that's how it looks, and that's how it will go on the bike. So those 4 bolts will go through underneath the seat, and I need to tighten everything up yet. So another thing I've just noticed, you've got a plus and minus coming off your light, and then on the loom this end, both black basically. So if they'd have color coded it a little bit better, maybe it would have been better. How to know which is which? So one way of doing it is I've looked at the old connector. So if that's the same plug, then the one on the left is the positive. One way of finding out. So got a little bit of heat shrink that I can use just there. I'll hairdryer back on that, and then I'll get some electrical tape around those. I'm just going to put a piece of tape around those connections. Okay, now we can fit the little key mechanism, and that should just snap into place like so, and that's it, ready to go back on the bike. The last thing we need to do is basically tighten up all of my nuts and bolts. Tools that you're going to need. You're going to need a little socket set, you're going to need an Allen key, potentially the odd screwdriver here and there, you're going to need some heat shrink, you're going to need some tape, you're going to need some different pliers, and a screwdriver. Okay, so that's it all assembled. Let's get out and get this fit to the bike. What we need to do, we need to feed the wires through, and then just put 2 of the nuts on there just to hold it in place while we reconnect all the wires again. Keep the wires nice and tidy and out of the way. And then we've got down here a black and a red connector. So we'll just connect those up. So we've got your black indicator and your white indicator connections just down here. Reconnect those up, keep the wiring nice and tidy, and then all we've got to connect up is the last one, which is the rear light for the, how does that go? There you go. Okay, so that last connector there was just the rear number plate light. What we need to do now is get the other 2 nuts on, get them tightened down, and then we can start to reassemble the back end. But before I do, I will check that the lights and the indicators are working before we build it back up. So I'm just doing a check. We've got brake lights. We haven't touched the wiring on that, but the as you can see here, the number plate light is working perfectly fine. Let's just check the indicators. Put the hazards on. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, both hazard lights flashing. There's the indicators flashing. Make sure I've got the right sides though. So we're going right. No. So there you go. I've connected the wrong one up. So that's showing a left indicator, and I'm doing a right one. Okay, so we seem to have a mistake somewhere. I've actually put the indicators on the wrong sides, but it doesn't matter. They look alike, and what I can do is, I think these are interchangeable, the white and the left. So I think I can just swap these two round, and then we won't have an issue with left and right indicators. Right, so check time. Right indicator. Yep, right indicator. Left indicator. Yep, left indicators. So they're all correct. And then just check the hazards. Whew. Thank God for connectors that are interchangeable, eh? So good. What I can do now is get it all bolted down and get it all built back together. Nice and tight. Everything's secure.
Videos, please subscribe and hit the bell button for regular reminders of new videos coming up.